to ENN, everyone.
Ray Rowe.
On TUE.
It is brought to you by our friends over at Security Dodge.
Love those people.
I'd like to say good evening to Michael.
He's going to be here for a long time.
And to Michael.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
And to Don.
The second intermission meatballs.
Mobo, who tweeted.
We love Mobo.
I guess he works for Mushnick. After we promoted, we had Bob Wischusen on. Gee, can you imagine? Their guest works at ESPN. What a get. Well, we got him on for something that has nothing to do with ESPN because the Jets are gone. So, try again, Mobo. Or is it pronounced yo-yo?
By the way, if anyone wants to spend some quality time.
Nah.
No, I'm doing a live podcast tonight.
Good for you,
No
man.
way.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's very difficult to believe.
Me and Cypher Sounds are going to be at SOB's tonight as part of the New York Comedy Festival.
SOB stands for what?
Sounds of Brazil.
Love it.
Legendary New York venue. Will be downtown. Our guests include the great Sam J, Michelle Wolf, my friend Smoke Dizza, who I know Michael's a big fan of.
Is it wrong that I don't know any of those people? But I want to?
Well, no, I appreciate you for wanting to know. I feel like you might recognize Michelle Wolf if you saw.
I know Michelle Wolf.
You know Michelle Wolf, right, Mike?
Yeah.
I know Michelle Beadle and Jenna Wolf. Does that count?
No. Right. What about Smoke Dizza?
Yeah, she's got to stop smoking pot if she does, in fact, do that.
I don't know who that is.
Wow, drugs must be great. I had a little something, a little toke of the old Bubanj.
Whoever that person is, I'm sure they partake, right?
It was skunk pot.
Not
wow,
skunk
drugs
pot.
must be great.
Yeah,
real high quality.
His name is Smokey. It's Smoke Dizza. Smokey. I mean, I call him Smokey.
You do?
I call him Smokey. Literally one of my favorite human beings in the world. One of my closest friends.
Well, that's why I want to get to know him. If you love him, then I love him.
I love him. One of my closest friends in the business.
So this is a live podcast?
That's right.
Is this essentially radio?
No. Live podcast as in person in front of people.
Oh, okay.
But it'll be consumed.
Not live. It'll be consumed
After
recorded.
the fact,
correct, on video or audio devices.
We're thinking about doing that with Game Misconduct, right, Anthony? Just rent out a theater and do it in front of everybody.
You know what? I hear the NHL store could be a good place for you guys to go do something. Yeah, sure.
I think we'd pull a crowd.
Absolutely.
I think so.
Absolutely, you would. Also, let me say good evening to myself and Don. By the way, if anyone wants to spend some quality time.
Nah. That was a quick turnaround, Jacob. Good job.
Yeah. You know how they do.
We don't see that often.
No.
That's a unicorn.
Joe Shane spoke, or as I call him, Joe Skiochane, about the Giants' great start to the season. Here's Joe Shane, not happy at 2-8.
Obviously, we're sitting here at 2-8 and not where we want to be. Nobody's happy about it. Ownership, Dave's, me, coaches, people in the building, the fans, and I understand that. What we're going to do the rest of the week is, do self-evaluation on the roster, personnel, and try to find solutions as we move forward. These last 7 games. So that's what we'll focus on this week. The guys came in, had a good day of practice today, lifted, had meetings.
Do you know one of the worst playing off, Peter? It might have been the Grammys. It was one of the last public appearances of Frank Sinatra, and they played him off.
Ugh.
Imagine that, Frank Sinatra.
I at one of the shows recently, and I don't remember which show it was, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or Golden Globes. I don't remember which show I was watching, but which I got it's on the tip of my tongue. Right when the person started talking about someone who had passed away, they started playing the playoff music, and I'm like, you got to stop playing the music. You got to pull back the music and let him go. And also, sometimes it bothers me. You got to know who you're dealing with. Sometimes they play it with someone who's so big, and I'm like, you can't play them off.
Yeah, you can't play Frank Sinatra off.
Yeah,
you can't play Sinatra off.
Can we find that, Jacob, somewhere? Because I want to know what that sounds like. Play off Frank.
It was awful. It was so cringe, as my daughter would say.
It's Frank. Like the equivalent was, for you on center stage, Michael, was it Red Auerbach?
Right.
You don't tell him to put his cigar out.
But somebody did. He laughed at him.
But
he laughed right in their face.
Fire marshal. If Don and Peter are on center stage and we're smoking, they drag us out by our hair.
They just take a huge thing of water and throw it right in the face.
One of the little secrets about center stage is I have an earpiece in my ear which connects me to the producer, and we had some pretty big stars on, and like some of them would go long, and I would get cut them off. Sometimes I refuse to do it. I mean, it's not a live show. We don't have to get into an hour, and it could be edited later. I'm not going to cut off, whomever. It's ridiculous.
You're not going to cut off former Nets coach Lawrence Frank in the middle of a great story.
No, I would not do that.
How dare you disrespect?
I do feel bad because I like Lawrence Frank, but if you are searching for somebody to reference on center stage that you can do that, that's the first one that pops to mind. Isn't that a shame?
Do you guys, are you interested in hearing Joe Shane being asked about if he thinks he'll be back?
Yeah, let's hear that. Yes. Get the band ready, though.
Another year free agency, another draft. Do you expect to be back here, especially if this team doesn't win some games down the stretch?
Yes.
Do you expect to be back? Mm-hmm. Have you been told you definitely will be back?
I communicate with ownership all the time. I know Dave talks about that continuously each time these questions come up. And we have a really good relationship with ownership, and we communicate constantly with them. There's confidence in the plan.
We were able to get where we needed.
Why is it that I never don't find that funny?
I know.
And isn't it great that after all these years, things constantly evolve on the show? Up until 2 weeks ago, I'd say, I used that exclusively for Richard.
Right.
And then at some point where I was playing audio from someone who was so bored, and I said, let me just start playing them
now
out.
It's most of the audio. Now, listen, there was me that wouldn't play audio again, but we're making it work now. We're finding the best of both worlds here. Well, that sounded genuine to me, that there's been a conversation that he's safe.
Yeah, but if they lose their neck, what do they have, 8 games remaining? 7?
7.
We'll see. Things change. It's fluid, as they say. Fluid.
Everything's very fluid.
But that's also got to be a part of his thought process, or how are we going to play in these final 7? But if he's got Drew Lock playing in those 7 games, and Drew Lock is awful, and you go to DeVito and he's twice as bad, what do you think the record's going to be?
All right, so let me ask you this, Don. I'm asking you as a Giant fan.
Mm-hmm.
When it's over, they're 3-14. And Mara says to Belichick, I want you back. Does Belichick take the job? Does he take a 3-14 team? Because it might be hard to break Shula's record then.
I think this is the one team he would do it for, because he has said that this is the one soft spot he has in his.
But the one thing he has left doing coaching is to get those 15 wins. That might not be easy to come by with the Giants.
No, but I also don't think that he would be, a one-and-done guy. I think that he would probably look at it and go, all right, a year of assessing, and then hit the ground running in 26, and then I think I can get to my 15 in the next 2 or 3 years and get this team back to respectability. I don't think Bill Belichick would take it, thinking he was only going to be there for a couple of years.
Well, what's the most he's going to sign, though? He's going to sign a 3-year deal. He's 72.
He'll sign a 3-year contract. You don't think he can get 15 wins in 3 years?
With this team? I don't know.
No, well, then he's not doing his job then, Michael. Now here's the issue. Is Joe Shane his general manager, somebody else, or is it going to be Bill for the whole shebang? I'm not sure I'd want to sign up for that. Because, listen, he's an ungodly good head coach. He's an average general manager. And it's going to take a lot of work to get this roster to the point where anybody's going to be successful with it. So I don't know if I want him to be the general manager. So if I have to give him the whole kit and caboodle, no, I'm good. But if he's willing to just be the coach, and whether it's Joe or somebody else that's the general manager, I think I'd be willing to do that.
Kick the can?
No, he's a great coach. But then you start getting to Phil Jackson territory if you start having him be your general manager. What does his resume tell me that he's going to be able to turn around a team buying the groceries?
Hey, let's ask Aaron Rodgers something on Pat McAfee.
Sure.
Aaron, what's the mindset in the room right now?
Well, it hasn't changed for me. I think you got to approach it the same every single week. When there's a lot of conversation like, oh, what are you going to do now? Like, well, you do what you know how to do. You go back to work. Preparation stays the same. Maybe it kicks up a little bit if you need to for guys that, feel like they can give a little more. But I've been doing this a long time, and the preparation stays the same. Focus stays the same. I think you got to handle it with humility. Been a lot of pies to be eaten around here this year. Flavored humble.
The one thing that
what does that mean?
Well, humble pie. Pie's flavored humble.
The flavor.
When he said, I don't feel that way. I mean, meaning others might.
Yeah, I don't speak genius.
Let me tell you something that they should have asked about next season. I mean, this season for the squadron. I don't see the drop I was looking for. So
oh, boy, you messed it up.
Yeah, it fell apart. It was there. I swear I saw it.
A lot of good it does.
I lost it.
I don't know what else he's going to say.
Oh, here it is.
Oh, here we go.
The question is this season...
Missed it.
Probably wasn't worth it. Yeah, sure. Oh, well, but by the way, actually, Aaron Rodgers responded to that. He said there's still hope.
You got to hold on to that beautiful thing in life called hope. And that's just, there's a chance. We're not mathematically eliminated. There's a lot to play for. At the end of the day, one thing that we can play for, whether we're 10-0 or 3-7, is pride. Pride in your performance, pride in the product you're putting on the field. I'm not wanting to let your coaches down, the teammates down, the guys in the locker room.
Pride comes before the fall.
One thing I saw in that team as they were losing 31-6 to the Arizona Cardinals, pride.
And the two words that did not pop to mind during that game was hope and pride.
Yeah, no.
Right.
I didn't feel a ton of pride when I was watching. I didn't see that.
And I didn't sense any hope.
When I saw players grabbing onto offensive players, having full hold of them, and then letting go and falling on the ground as they ran off, pride wasn't what hit me. All right, so we didn't get to this yesterday, but let's get to it today. As we already received the horrifying news that Dak Prescott will be out, season-ending surgery for Dak Prescott. So Cowboys got some problems, but the problems picked up yesterday when Micah Parsons was asked about Mike McCarthy, and his answer was interesting.
That's above my pay grade about if Mike is coaching again next year. All coaching aside, Mike can leave and go wherever he wants, but the guys I kind of feel bad for is guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year on their way out, because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did. So those are the kind of guys that I have so much sympathy and hurt for.
Now, he had me in the beginning of it.
And then the end was just...
Because you're going to play for your teammates, and don't worry about Mike McCarthy. He's not sacrificing his body. My teammates... But then...
The end was a Scud missile. Here's Micah on his podcast, The Edge, denying taking a shot at Mike McCarthy.
I never once threw... or even intended to throw Mike McCarthy under the bus. Like I said, he's one of the most winningest coach. He is a Super Bowl champion. I never once brung up his past. And the question that was asked was about here in the Dallas Cowboys, did I see Mike McCarthy in our future? And I said, that's above my pay grade. So never once did I ever intended or wanted to reflect on Mike McCarthy's career, because I always knew it was a good one. I've always had a great relationship with Mike McCarthy, and I never even put that in question. And for a guy like Rex Ryan, I just know he wanted to coach the Cowboys. I'm perfectly happy that we have Zimmerman, because if we have a guy that's willing to go on TV and provide this type of nonsense, imagine what he could do to a locker room.
But he's denying what he said.
Right, he's saying his out is I didn't intend. I never intended to. Well, you did.
But you said, I forget what the percent was, a 10 time, whatever he said, worked harder than Mike McCarthy. Now, I guess he can spin it. Well, I'm talking about it in the weight room. I'm talking about on the field. He might put his work in, but it's not as physically demanding as it is for a player. But that's not what he said. He implied that the players are working harder than him, which then the implication is that Mike McCarthy's not giving his all. That's the way I took it. Now, I would obviously be the bad guy if I were to bring that up to him. Well, why did you take it that way? Well, why are you comparing Mike McCarthy to the players and making the players seem like they're working harder than your coach? How is the coach supposed to take that? But listen, he's brilliant. That's a guy that deserves whatever he gets paid post-career, because he is going to be outstanding.
Micah?
Yeah.
No, he's got a future.
Micah getting a mic.
Here's Mike McCarthy responding to Micah's comments.
With post-game remarks and really any remarks, when it does create questions for others in the locker room, conversation has to happen. So Mike and I had a conversation this morning about it, and handle those things as men should handle it. But we need to just keep it about football, because if we're not working on football, our opponent is an hour or two better than us already.
You know what I don't get about the Cowboys? Well, why are they starting Cooper Rush? Well, why aren't they starting Trey Lance?
Because Trey Lance can't play.
But they know what they have in Cooper Rush. Trey Lance was a former number 1 draft pick.
Right, so I'm assuming they know what they have in him and know that he's not any good. Now, why they traded for him, I'll never understand that. But doesn't that speak volumes, Michael?
It does, but again, they traded for him, so they think there's something there. So I don't get it. Don't you want to see for sure what you have? You know what you have with Cooper Rush. He's not a great quarterback. He's backup.
Well, then I could only assume that they know what they have in Trey Lance, and it's not good. Now, Jerry traded for him, but that doesn't mean that the coaching staff thinks he's any good. Or do they think, hey, we're still mathematically alive, and we're gonna play Cooper Rush because he's done it before, and then at some point they'll go to Trey Lance. I mean, that's a possibility because they don't want to give up until it's actually mathematical, which is probably going to come sooner than later. Especially when they play at home. The only one worse at home are the Giants. They're terrible at home, the Cowboys. God.
Guys, that'll do it for ENN.
So good.
Thank you very much.